Welcome to a special virtual edition of the Skeptics track at Dragoncon, where we put the science in science fiction.
Hello, I'm Mark Ditsler, producer of the Skeptics track audio and video, and that makes me responsible for everything that goes wrong on our live stream. With this year being such a unique Dragoncon, we wanted to talk a little bit about what it took to produce Virtual Dragoncon 2020. I have a couple of very special guests with me today, but before I introduce them, I want to break a few production rules and give you a quick peek behind the curtains, as they say, of the Virtual Skeptics track. Now, my production crew and I believe that when we do our jobs, no one notices. We're not supposed to be part of the show. Our track directors, Derek Collindoodle and Angie Matke, know that we are an integral part of the Skeptics track. And when they express their gratitude, usually at the end of the show, saying thank you to Mark and his company, Calico, Cove, I would like to point out they're really thanking our entire production crew. I could not and do not produce the Skeptics track live stream by myself. Although my staff is quite small this year, I'd like to recognize them. So there's Shara Smith, John Oltoff, Elizabeth Gordon, and April Collindoodle, who are all working hard behind the scenes to make our show a success. Thank you, everyone. I could not do it without you. We'll save some time for questions from our viewers, so if you have a question, put it in the chat on the live stream, and our chat moderator will pass them to me, and we'll go from there. Welcome to Calico Cove Studios. This may look like a spacious sound stage, but it is really quite a small, cramped space, and also fondly known as my living room. This is what it looks like in reality. It's not as glamorous as you probably expected it to be, is it? Here's a shot from another angle. And this is what things look like from my perspective. No, I'm not really a big stuffed dog. That's just my body double that we use during the rehearsals. Not content with just commandeering the living room, we've also taken over my dining room for our control center. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't thank my wife and her out-of-this-world tolerance and permission to allow me to disrupt our living space for the sake of Dragoncon. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Dragoncon is much, much bigger than just the Skeptics track, although I don't know why anyone would want to see any other track since we have the best programming. However, the months of work that go into the Dragoncon done by the Skeptic track volunteers and the other Dragoncon volunteers, it just pales in what our track does, pales in what it takes to do the entire Dragoncon. So with me today to talk about what's required to produce Dragoncon is Rachael Reeves, co-chair and senior director of Dragoncon. Hello, Rachael.
Hi, thanks for having me today. I'm excited to join you.
Yeah. If we're lucky, Regina Kirby might also be able to join us. However, because there's so much that goes into producing the con, she is busy doing con work right now, and hopefully will be able to join us at a later time. So for quite some time earlier this year, it looked like Dragoncon may not happen at all. A convention like Dragoncon, virtual or not, doesn't just happen. There's a small army of volunteers and conversely a relatively few staff members that managed to make this convention. I am not used to being in front of the camera, so you'll have to give me some latitude here. Anyway,
you're doing great.
There are a small army of volunteers and conversely a relatively few staff members that managed to make this convention that we love happen every year, and this year is no exception. Going virtual this year presented some unique challenges and opportunities, which we'll get into in a few moments. But first, Rachael, how long have you been actively involved in putting on Dragoncon, and when did you take over your current position?
Oh wow, it depends on who you ask. I always like to say that I've been involved since the first one. I grew up in Dragoncon. I actually, in the very first one, I was showing people to their tables, the vendors and the artists and all of that. So it has been with me my whole entire life. So that was when I was about 7 years old. I've been to all but one when I had to have my tonsils taken out, and my sister still holds it over me. But truly, I would say it's been probably about 20 to 25 years that I started taking a bigger role, starting with kind of helping with booking the travel, then going to doing some of the guest agreements, guest contracts. And then I took over as co-chair about 5 or 6 years ago. They kind of run together. But it's been relatively recently that I took over the operation of the show with my co-chair, Dave Cody.
What does your day-to-day activities look like as co-chair?
Depends on the day. I don't know that I can give you a normal one. A lot of my energy is spent working with the guest, working with the agents, working with the guest applications, and kind of building that aspect of the show. Another big part of my responsibility that takes a lot of time, especially this year, is the communication teams of the show. So the social media team, who has been killing it this year with virtual, especially the DCTV team, again, a huge part of why we're here watching together. And then kind of everything else, the website, media relations, photography. So all of the communication aspects, and that takes up a lot of time too. So I'd say that that's kind of where I spend the majority. And then just overall liking to check in with people. I'm a person that really enjoys seeing what our people have put together. So just kind of checking in high level, letting folks know I'm here if they need me. But quite frankly, it's better to just stay out of their way, because our people are an incredibly gifted people and creative and passionate and all the things. So I have found that on that side of things, it's just better to just kind of step back and let them do what they do best and just be there for support.
Oh, I absolutely agree that our people, the volunteers that we have at Dragoncon, are just extremely creative and talented. And I speak of that from the point of view of basically DCTV, since I have some interaction with them. They don't actually work on our streaming, and I don't actually work on the DCTV part. The parade group, who managed to put together a fantastic parade. I'm just always amazed at the amount of talent and enthusiasm that is done by all these volunteers. And speaking of volunteers, how many staff members are actually staff on Dragoncon, and how many volunteers do you usually get on an average year?
So staff, we have just over 10. And then volunteers, we have typically in the 2,200 range. This year, there were a lot of involved, but kind of in the biggest areas that were fueling Dragoncon Goes Virtual, we had about 250 engaged in the core of getting the show up and running.
Speaking of the parade that I just mentioned, I got the chance to view a little bit of it. Of course, I was busy with other things on this track, and I've been privy to some of the discussions that went on behind the scenes with the parade group, since I am part of the chat. And when I first heard what they were planning on doing a few months ago, I thought, this is either going to be terrible or it's just going to be crazily good. And I really had no idea what to expect. And then seeing the finished product today, what the fans have sent in, and how the parade team edited everything together and did their voiceover, I was just blown away. My first thought was, there's no way you can do a parade in the time of socially distancing. So this is just out. Well, let's not even talk about it. And then they said, well, let's do a virtual parade. And they started talking about it, and I'm like, okay, let's see what they come up with. Since I'm not involved in that, it's like, I'll let you guys go, and I won't poke my head up and say, you can't be done. They did this is an example of something that at first thought you would think, well, we can't do that this year because of the virtual Dragoncon. And then they turned around and they actually did it. What other things were thought of that, oh, we can't do that because we're virtual this year, and we ended up doing them, or tracking it up doing them, or something like that?
Probably, like, I feel like at least 50% of what you're seeing. So when we started off, when we knew that the in-person event was going to be canceled and we were having to transition virtually, what we started off with was a rather small footprint, to be perfectly honest. And my team quickly challenged me to know that I wasn't thinking big enough. And that's something that I appreciate greatly from them. And the parade was a perfect example. Before we even had our first discussions of, this is kind of what I'm thinking and the convention is hoping to see and all those things, they had already had a plan in place with so much creative brainstorming that like it just absolutely boggles my mind. We had somebody already taking lead on it. That was Tommy Bird, Jess Moss, and Crispy Lloyd, who just did that script, which was insane. And then Tommy did a ton of editing. Crispy brought it together too. And that team was just mind blowing. So the parade alone was a big one. And then the little things, and that was a big part of that team as well. So things like the masquerade we're going to see tonight. That was one that I couldn't get my mind wrapped around how I would do it. I could get the entries and things like that, but the live host and all the things that we typically include in the masquerade, as many Dragoncon fans know, Duck Dodgers is close to our masquerade heart, and you're going to see some incredible surprises tonight. So much of it. Also, the performance side was a big one that kind of came together later in the process. We weren't sure how that would translate well to virtual between, you know, some of the live performances that we normally have at Dragoncon, as well as the DJs. You know, it's one of the things that makes Dragoncon great is everybody comes to Dragoncon for a different reason. And, you know, a lot of people actually, in my opinion, attend a totally different convention from each other because, to your point earlier, maybe they're spending all their time with Skeptics or Star Wars or science, or maybe they do like the big guest and go in the main ballrooms, and it's just totally different. And then, so when we turned our sights to the performance side of things, that's one that I thought was just really cool. Going to the DJs, just asking if they thought they could do something. I honestly thought there'd be a little bit more of, are you joking? And it wasn't. They were all on board in a matter of seconds and excited to do it. And some of the stuff they pulled together just impressed me beyond belief. So the short answer is almost everything you see today. Am I just absolutely proud of and shocked that could be pulled off. But it is only the credit of our fans contributing that good stuff. And most importantly, our volunteers putting it together and constantly reminding me that think bigger when it comes to those things. And I couldn't be more proud of what we presented and continue to present this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. The volunteers are really the heart of this convention. Without them, and of course the fans, there wouldn't be any reason for us to be here. And just to echo what you said, I am also amazed at the amount of creativity when you go to people and say, hey, DJ, can you do something here? What, a virtual parade? What? We've never heard of that. And just the explosion of creativity and talent that goes on here is again, blows me away. When the whole year started to go haywire, and we didn't know whether the convention would happen or not, or whether we could do something virtually, what were the early days of that time period? How much chaos was Dragoncon staff in going, are we going to be able to do a conference? If not, what are our options? What do we do about hotels? What do we do about vendors? What do we do? What do we do?
Yeah, they were pretty rotten, to be perfectly honest. I am, by nature, a worrier. I worry about everything. It affects my sleep, my everything. It is probably one of my biggest weaknesses. So I pretty much worried myself silly. But also, we had a very, like just starting with step one. What are our options? What are we, going to do? I will say the hotel partners were amazing, as well as the ACVB, which is the Atlanta Convention Visitors Bureau. They were so supportive of us. And, obviously, we worked very hard to give the whole world a chance to know if things would be different, where we could come together. I know that was something a lot of people questioned, was the length of time it took for us to actually call off the in-person event. Mm-hmm. And truly that was one, because we are also daydreamers, I'll be honest, and I was certainly hoping something would change. And two, most importantly, is we felt very strongly like we needed to hold out hope. That is something that I believe this world is lacking right now. In large part, obviously not with our crew. And so we really felt like that was a big piece of that, is holding out hope for our fans the people that had already been going through some of the most difficult times, I would venture to say, in any of their lives. Our hotel partners, they have gone through a situation that no one has ever seen before. They have been impacted far more than even the large scale things that have occurred in the past. And we were holding on hope for them too. We had actually meetings with the teams, and that was one thing that I was so impressed by, is never did they flinch. They absolutely came to the table with creativity that matched our own people's, the ideas of, how to even spread out registration into the individual hotels so that we knew we couldn't put that many people together. A commitment of cleaning and sanitizing and emptying every single room between the panels, where we would sit empty for an hour and their team would come in. Like, they were so committed to helping us brainstorm possibilities that could occur in an in-person event. And it was just the most amazing thing. And I think for that and for them, we really wanted to give it the most amount of time that we could to see if the situation changed and if we were able to gather. We definitely had a plan B, a much, much smaller show that we were hoping and working towards in the first few months of the whole COVID crisis. But then when we knew that even that was not something we could feel confident in keeping our people safe, that's when we really did the virtual pivot. Of course, our bigger teams that have been involved in this, Dragoncon TV and things like that, their brains were already working, I think, day one, probably, knowing that it was a chance because they're amazing. So people were thinking and putting thoughts into it, but truly, we were just trying to hold out as long as possible to, give everybody a chance to come together. So when it changed and we knew that we couldn't keep our community safe and we pivoted virtually, it is clearly, I will say, I have been around this convention almost my entire life, every year of the convention, and it is the most proud I have ever felt, the most inspired I have ever been in our people, the fan track directors coming up, not only, so we shot low, we asked for 4 panels, 3 of which we would go to the fan tracks because we knew that it was, quick timing. We knew that there was just so many other factors at play, and we wanted to make sure the tracks were included, but we wanted to keep the impact low. Y'all, obviously you're watching this right now. You have seen what Skeptics alone has brought you by way of their social media. It's amazing that people have just completely exceeded all of our expectations in a matter of less than 3 months when we made the official decision. It's incredible to see.
The Dragoncon has been doing streaming for a couple of years, and it started small and has grown a little bit over the year. We sent some of our tracks last year to the mainstream. How's it changed this year? Because obviously streaming was the go-to answer for the con. How many channels are they running now, and what is the content that's on them?
So for Dragoncon Cove's Virtual, the main channels we introduced were 3. 3 to a viewer perspective, 3 different content channels. So we have the main, we had the fan tracks, and we have classics. So the main is focused on kind of the new content with a lot of the guests that wanted to participate. This afternoon was Animaniacs. Just so many things. We have Fear the Walking Dead coming up. So just different guest groups that we were able to bring together and work with. And of course, the classics, like you said, the parade, the masquerade, Friday night costume contest on Friday. We'll have the awards show later this afternoon at 5:30. So lots of good stuff and content on that side. And then we had the fan tracks, which was awesome and came together that all the fan tracks provided 4 panels. And that is every single hour, 24 hours a day from when we kicked it off at 7 p.m. after the Dragoncon update started, all the way till 4 p.m. on Monday. That's going to run. Which is awesome. I think that's been my favorite thing, is being able to experience panels in general and seeing some of the programming our tracks have put together. And then the third is the classics. So yeah, it's just a representation of lots of things that we have recorded over the past several years as we've had DCTV and the records of the panels, so that people could kind of channel their nostalgia for, being stuck inside and not having a lot of options on what to do. I think nostalgia has been huge way to kind of, in my opinion escape. So those are the three. My technical people mesmerize me though, because it's really not three. We have more than 9 streams and channels going because of closed captioning, because of Roku, all those sorts of things. So I have quickly become versed, and it is never as simple as in your head you think it's going to be.
Well, that always seems to be the case whenever you take on any technical challenge like that. Oh yeah, this isn't that hard, and then you find out there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts that are involved. Do you think going forward, when the world returns to normal, that Dragoncon will be doing more streaming in the future? Maybe
Yes.
adding in some additional channels?
Absolutely. So that is something we've already been talking about a good bit, is understanding that the world is forever changed from this. But even best case scenario, and we're able to come together for 2021, we know that it's not going to probably be 2019 or any of those with, 85, 90,000 people together. So we have really challenged ourselves to take a lot of the lessons learned here, and how do we make not just 2021, but beyond better? How can you make a hybrid event of some sort where the people in person that come together for the reasons that they come together, which is amazing, the people, the energy, all the things, and then, people that may not like crowds, that want to stay home. How do we kind of marry the two and give our fans the best experience possible? And this year has been so incredible in giving us a lot of feedback from the fans, data to look at what they want and all that. So we will most certainly take it into account as we move forward.
Yeah, when we were first discussing what could be done, just like your team, our track, we sat down and said, well, we have 10 years of programming that's recorded. We could just play those back, but we really want new and fresh content. How can we do that? And as time went on throughout the year and more social events got canceled, you couldn't go to concerts, and nothing effectively was happening social-wise. I myself got more determined to make sure that we were able to do something for Dragoncon this year, because I didn't want to see the con canceled, or at least our track canceled, because we just couldn't do it. There's nothing else to do this year. So this is very important that we give people an escape and an ability to do something, even if we can't gather in person. So how has other fans of Dragoncon and attendees responded this year so far? Do you know?
It has been the most heartwarming thing I think I could possibly experience. It's something that I encourage my teams to take a moment to also enjoy, because so far the feedback has been tremendous. They've been very patient with us as we've had, some technical hiccups here and there. But again, we shot for the moon. No other event out there has, in my opinion, tried to do what we did with the amount of programming that we're offering, with the, quite frankly, I think we built an entire mini con out on our social platforms, especially building Discord that the team was able to build in 3 weeks, which is amazing. And when you go on there, the creativity with the hotels being kind of the channels and all that kind of stuff, trying to make it as Dragoncon as possible, has just been absolutely incredible. And so I don't know, it's a real proud mom moment for me, and just seeing the fan feedback, both between the patients, but even more importantly of, this is the most amazing. We have seen a lot of families, especially, which touches me, because I have 2 daughters that often go to the show. We'll go to the show every year for parts of it. And it's so neat to me to see the families that maybe aren't able to get their kids to Dragoncon for whatever reason, being able to enjoy it with them now. I think that's been really exciting to me. Those are my favorite comments that says, my son's never seen it. Now I have to take them next year, or, anything like that. I just think it's a really cool experience for families that, even though it's not the same thing, you do get to experience an awful lot of cool stuff in the comfort of your own home.
Do you feel that Dragoncon has reached a group of people that they normally wouldn't reach because we are virtual this year and not in person? Because there are those that say, I've never been to a con, I don't know what it's about, why would I go? And until they figure out why they would go, they would never show up at a convention. So do you think we've reached more people who wouldn't normally go to a convention, who, like the lady you just mentioned, says, now I got to take my kid next year.
Yeah, I think it's definitely. So we're seeing that. It's funny as you can comment when you order something from the store. And we're seeing a lot of that, of people that just had no idea and that they can't wait till next year, and that the energy is there and the excitement is there. I love stats and love numbers and all of the things like that. And even more than that, I think demographics are really a cool thing. And so our very first day launched, it was so exciting. We were only streaming kind of the classics, the DCTV parodies and the commercials and the bumpers and all the things that make DCTV one of the coolest things ever. And we were already having people in the Netherlands and in Singapore and in Ireland and all sorts of places join us for something that, we hadn't even started the programming. That was probably one of the coolest moments for me, is just seeing not just people that maybe don't know conventions in general, but people that probably have never been able to come to an in-person Dragoncon being able to join us virtually. So I do absolutely think next year is going to be a really cool merge of the Dragoncon loyals and the fans that have always been by our side, which is something that makes us great, but also the new people that have been introduced through virtual want to come see what the event's about.
So the virtual con has become a gateway drug to the in-person con.
Yes.
Well, I'm being informed by my excellent production staff that we now have Regina Kirby online with us.
Hello.
Regina is the Senior Director of Programming at Dragoncon. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And how long have you been with Dragoncon, and when did you take over your current position?
Okay, so I've been with Dragoncon. I first attended Dragoncon in 1989. And it didn't take me very long to be behind the scenes because I just wanted to be a part of the magic. So I got sucked in pretty quickly. The joke is that someone was doing something and I said, no, stop doing that. That's a liability issue. And they went, oh, you know what that is. Come with us. So that's kind of where I started. So I've been through several different departments, but I've been in this position since 2008. So as the head of programming. So like I said, I worked my way up. I've done a little bit of everything. I started off in the fan tracks. I did information services. I was in guest services for a long time, and that was the first time that I did programming. And then I stepped away for a bit and went and did security operations and different things like that. Mm-hmm. So I kind of have a really good overview of the con.
A well-rounded experience.
Yeah. So, and I've done a lot of different of the regionals. So I keep my hand into the smaller conventions as well to keep up with the fan interaction and all that kind of thing.
So as a senior director of programming, what do you do every day? Do you call up the track directors and say, hey, have you booked enough guests yet? Or do you say, that's a liability, you can't do that?
We run differently than that. They don't actually book the guests. A lot of people think they do. It is a good thing for them to provide us contact information, but we do have a central guest committee that considers that, because we do need to make sure that the show is balanced. Everybody has a budget, even Dragoncon. So we do have to manage our resources. And that's kind of my role. I'm also the person that promotes things into the larger rooms based on what I believe the draw is going to be. It's all about load balancing. So I say that I'm a master Tetris player because I'm constantly adjusting the grid and the schedule throughout the year. But yeah, my role is to be supportive and to, like I said, as we do manage to get guests booked in, a lot of it depends on their schedules, particularly shooting schedules with media talent. Because a lot of times you don't know that because of scripts as to when they're shooting and those kind of things. And also be the arbitrator between when multiple tracks want to use someone. It's always amusing to me to find that there's always one time seems to be, honestly, 4 o'clock Saturday seems to be the sweet spot for a lot of track directors, that they think that would be the perfect time. And there'll be to use someone, and there'll be 4 requests.
So you have to play
I'm the
mom
person
and,
who
and
makes
tell
that
them to
decision.
play nice, right?
Yeah, I'm the one that makes that decision and says, okay, you can have them. Well, you can't have them Saturday, but you can have them Friday. And kind of move all those pieces around so we have some cohesion within the show. So.
I'm sure there are people, buying you beers to say, I'll buy you another beer if I can have him Friday instead of Saturday.
Right. Well, they might try that, but I actually don't really drink.
Oh, okay.
So they can't bribe me that way. I do love chocolate. I will say that. But no, generally I try very, very much to be fair to all the fandoms, because that's what it's all about, is the fans. So to me.
I have a question here from Ann K on the stream. She was wondering how you were able to decide which panel to stream when, and what was the decision-making process. And
a lot of it has to do with availability, particularly when we're working around a few live events. So, and who was available to help us out with this. I've just been heartened by how much our community has come together with this, but and trying to be fair. We have 35 tracks and other content coming in. I wanted everybody to have a shot at a really good spot sometime during the weekend, but we are running 24 hours a day, so somebody has to be at that 3 o'clock spot, 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. That said, there's actually interesting that we're seeing sometimes a lot more viewers at certain times we wouldn't think we would have, because we're on the internet, and the people that are in California or in Europe actually are seeing us at those other times. So for them, that's their prime time.
Yes, so, our track has brought in a few skeptics from Australia and elsewhere for a couple previous conventions, and there's always this time difference because they have to fly, and they're 12 hours different.
Oh my goodness. I know Rachel will tell you that has been the struggle. You think with recording people, you think, that'll be easy. No.
Yeah.
Schedules. People being in different parts of the world is very challenging. So,
but yeah, correct. We had a guest that was in Australia, and we've had one, is it Norway?
One in
Netherlands?
Nigeria tomorrow, and we had Copenhagen.
We have one in Nigeria tomorrow and one from Copenhagen this morning.
Nigeria, wow.
Now they're accommodating us because we're obviously very Eastern time zone centric. But maybe we put them on earlier or late, so it's not so late at their time zone. However, I also think being on the internet, like you said, we have the ability to reach a lot more people, regardless of time zone.
Absolutely. We have seen a lot of growth within our fan track communities, particularly on Facebook. I've been checking in with my directors, and they've said that they've seen a lot more people becoming aware of their tracks. So that's super cool.
I've got another question from our live stream here. It's Virginia Foster asks, did that other convention, and she's mentioning the Comic-Con in San Diego, that other convention.
We're all fans. We're all fans.
Just
saying.
Their online convention offering, did it have any influence on what Dragoncon did, virtual or not, and have other conventions reached out to Dragoncon for basically saying, hey, how did you do this? Can we do the same thing type of advice?
I'll take that one. Yes, on both accounts. So I would be absolutely silly if I didn't say we were watching. And, I think that was the one thing about being in September is that we were able to see quite a bit of the virtual offerings out there. And I wouldn't say that it fully shaped our direction or anything like that, because we already have a very firm grip on who Dragoncon is and what's important to us. But it did, I would say, really, really reiterate some of the things that we were already aiming towards. The number one thing being interaction with our fans. And so I think that was something we definitely took away from some of the others out there, that we wanted to make sure that it was funny, but it was a joke that we wanted to make it feel like for fans, like they were at a normal Dragoncon with so much to do that, like, that's the biggest complaint we get. That, you know, they don't have time machines, they don't have, you know, things that can make them be at two places at once. And so us creating the offerings we have on social this whole weekend in Discord and all of that, I would be, you know, silly to think that it wasn't influenced, but it didn't necessarily direct our course. It just had us all saying, absolutely, you know, what makes Dragoncon special can translate into this virtual environment. How do we do it?
Mm-hmm. Going back to where we said, what could we do this year, what we can't do because we're virtual. One of the things that a lot of people love at Dragoncon is our vendor mart. That obviously they can't go to the vendors in person this year. So how was that handled this year in the virtual convention?
It is one of our biggest success stories, I would say, and I'm so excited about it. It was through our amazing partners at Eventini. So we had started working with them this year actually on our vendor database. So that's how we came into contact with them. We just loved them. They have a great energy about them, a true passion for what they do. They're incredibly intelligent. And then just by chance, this whole thing happened. And it was meant to be. They had this platform for a virtual marketplace. And so we kind of started there. And I hope that everybody's kind of gotten a chance to go there, because it really is one of my favorites. All of our goals have been blown out of the water. Our fans have taken to it just in a wonderful way, and really shown up for our vendors and artists who have also been through a really difficult time with the cancellation of all the in-person events. You would be amazed at the percentage of their income that comes from in-person conventions. So it's been a true success story. I love it because I am a shopper, but I never have enough time to get over to the vendor halls, get in, and then really walk through the halls, because they are so crowded and there's so many people there, because our vendors are awesome and the artists are incredible. So I'm kind of loving it, because in between things, I can go pick up something. I don't have to fight with the crowds. I don't have to worry about being back to where I need to be. It's been so fun for me. But truly, it's been wonderful. We've gotten great feedback from the vendors and the artists, not only about the success that they're having in it, but the ease of it. The partnership with Eventini, they actually, without us asking, created this process of just listening to all of the opinions and suggestions of the vendors and artists and building them into the platform almost on a real-time basis. It's just been an incredible partnership. And even so grew into something a lot of people don't know, is they have also come to the rescue on a lot of the technical side that we needed with streaming out the different channels with captioning and things like that. So we've been able to leverage their platform in that way too. And with it, give our fans an experience that is super sleek, and that you can be shopping and watching a panel at the same time. That was kind of a last minute come in. We had brainstormed it, and their team actually came to us with the idea, and they made it happen. So now there's an interactive schedule where you can touch kind of what you want to watch, and it comes up on a screen, and you can continue to shop. So it's been a wonderful thing, and they in particular have gotten a lot of props across the kind of the world. We've seen a lot of tweets and things of people saying, you know, this is the way a marketplace should be, and they have shared with us some of the people that are reaching out to them, and I could not be more proud. It is happening to the right people that I know can really help a lot of this world, a lot of the virtual events. Be able to provide a platform for the vendors and artists and other partners to succeed in this environment. So
that is fantastic. I'm glad that the vendors were able to get a decent solution, especially because a lot of them are small independent artists, and they do rely on conventions to generate a lot of their income. Now, on the other side of that coin, you have the big businesses that are involved, such as the hotels and other venues. This is also an issue for them. What is their status? How are they reacting? And what have they been able to do, or or not do for this year?
Honestly, they've supported us. Like, I mean, both from a partnership perspective, a history. These people, I do not say lightly, I'm not joking in that they are not only a part of the Dragoncon family, but they are part of my personal family. We have worked with several of them for years and years, and when they hurt, we hurt, and vice versa. And, while challenging,
As you say, they are part of the family because they are, even though almost, if you want to say, a silent partner in the con, they are always there and they're always helping. And, everybody probably understands the whole meme of the Marriott carpet. And you don't do that for a company or business that you don't like. When you tease them, you like them. So they are really a part of the family. So yeah, when they hurt, we all feel that. How are they doing? What can we do to help them out?
I think the biggest thing, and we had a lot of discussion on this, is just when your comfort level is there, go support them. They are not only open Dragoncon weekend. I know that happens to be the weekend that we sell all of them out in less than 10 minutes, but they are there year round. I know my husband and I are like just waiting until we get back to the eating out. And I feel like we're just going to camp out and eat at like Trader Vic's and, all the restaurants, like take a tour of the Dragoncon restaurants. I'm missing my Sear. I'm missing my Sundial, like all the places.
Oh, yes.
All the places.
Yes. Before the decision was made to go fully virtual, there were rumors or misinformation floating around simply because Dragoncon hadn't made a final decision yet, and there were people who always speculate on what's going to be the decision. So this little bit of misinformation, maybe rumors that were flying around, how did you handle that and address those and keep people calm, like, hey, we haven't made a decision yet, so don't be believing what you're reading over here or hearing this way? Was that a big problem?
Yeah, there's a big problem. I think the biggest thing was just trying to keep our people informed, even if it wasn't the information that they wanted. And I think that was a really hard thing for us, because when we would, come out with a positive update that we were still planning and still working, it was a very difficult thing to communicate in some ways, because while a lot of people were still very hopeful and wanting that message, there was a whole nother piece that we're really worried that we were not going to make the right call. So I think that was the big thing, was communicating when we can, and then just understanding that no matter what decision we made, it was going to be difficult, and we were going to have to work through it, with the people, and just be transparent and understand that our priority always has to be on the safety. And that I can say with full confidence that we did everything possible. We had some wild ideas in partnership with the hotels of how we could
absolutely did.
Potentially, right.
Craziness.
Potentially do it.
Well, Regina, what were some of the lessons learned from the programming this year that we'll be able to take forward and implement next year, and maybe build on them? That might be a really open question.
That's a really open question, and we're still digesting, of course. But
we know you're in the middle of the con right now, and you don't have time to think about next year.
Yeah, we got to get through this year first. But it's been just the creativity has been just off the charts. We have found people that have skill sets we didn't even realize they had. That we will be keeping, in mind as we go forward.
I can see the wheels turning. How
yes,
can we use those for?
Yes,
skills?
we're seeing some things. I mean, just like right now, I think the Star Trek track is getting ready for their Miss Star Trek Universe pageant in 360. They're doing it like we are doing this here, because they have a staff member who actually was a partner in a VR company. So they, I know that there are other things that that we can use that for. And I'm just like,
So what I'm hearing is that you're promising all of the fans of Dragoncon that the next year the entire convention is going to be streamed in 360.
no. I can see some things possibly carrying, but no, the thing that really makes DragonCon is the fan interactions, is the people.
Oh, absolutely.
Now we get that somewhat, as much as we can here. We get some of that, but man, I miss the hugs. I miss the smiles.
And it's just not the same, trying to make your way to the bathroom and spending 10 minutes to get there in a hotel.
I will
because
say
it's
that that's been kind of a
and
perk
I can
of
do that
having
in
your
my
own
house here
bathroom.
without a
That's
problem.
been kind of a perk, having your own bathroom. But yeah, I mean, I've always said that the smiling faces is what really makes my con. So
The one thing on the trip to the bathroom that I do miss is bumping into all the fabulous costumes that people are wearing, because
oh my God,
with
the costumes,
running the track, I don't get on the
fabulous.
track that often, and when I do, it's like, this is like, wow, I never saw that costume before. This is fantastic.
We have people that are literally movie people that that come. Some years ago when Lord of the Rings came out, there was a group that came in that were cosplaying orcs that were the people from the films. I mean, no joke. They were like, we're going to go and we're going to do it to ourselves. And they were like, and they made the AJC. They made, there were just these phenomenal pictures. And I was like, that's movie level. They're like, well, yeah, because they're movie people.
That
I was
reminds
like,
me, another thing I miss from having the in-person con, since we're on the second floor of the Hilton, we've got that nice overlook in the lobby, is
You
when
do.
they come in and they throw, just all of a sudden have a dance party. Or,
the dinosaurs, the
flash mob of some
T-Rexes.
sort
Oh
down
my
there.
God, the T-Rexes.
Yes, I miss that.
That has become a thing that is on the internet. And if the T-Rex just doing their disco dance is just only at an in-person convention did you have that kind of just
The impromptu stuff.
impromptu,
is just
yeah,
amazing.
that just things that just generate in the middle of one of the things many years ago when we were just at the Hilton, that many years ago, there was a moment where you suddenly heard bagpipes going up through that atrium and everyone just stopped. And it was just an amazing moment. And you have those moments and that's what I tell people. It's the moments that really get you through when you're working hard and you got all your buds working hard with you, but you have those really cool moments that make it all worthwhile. So, and I'm sorry I'm teary. It's just one of those things.
Oh, that's quite all right. We will soon, I predict, be able to do that again. And
I really hope so.
Yeah,
I look forward to it.
as much as I love the streaming stuff, and being a tech person, I love playing with the tech. There is no replacing the in-person convention. That will
Absolutely
never
not.
go
There
away.
really isn't. The friendships that you develop over the years, that camaraderie is just amazing.
Well, we've got.
And I have people that I have met. There's a woman that I met at my very first con that I didn't know otherwise. We just ended up seemingly going to the same things. And her name is Lane, and she's a school teacher. And it just, but I see her. But I usually only see her at DragonCon now. But I do manage to see her that once a year. And there are so many of those stories where you have people that you only see at DragonCon, and it may be literally that 30 seconds that you see them and you say, hey, how are you? What are you doing now? And you get that little catch up, but you're still part of each other's lives.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the joy that's DragonCon. So, we always talk about the joy that is DragonCon and spreading that joy, and I think that's part of it.
And when I talk to people who have never been to DragonCon or any similar convention, that is the hardest thing I have to get across to them, is the experience and the camaraderie and the friends that you meet.
I think science fiction fandom in general is very open and accepting, and that was one of the things that really drew me to it. Some years ago, at a World Horror Convention that we held here in Atlanta, Clive Barker spoke, and he actually talked about imaginative fiction and the fans, and said, if you can dream of the stars, you could get along with somebody else for an hour, you know, and it brings people together, you know, and that dreaming spirit, I think, really does connect us all. So,
Well, we've got a couple more minutes yet before we have to go. Is there anything that stands out in your minds, Regina or Rachel, that you would like to bring up that I haven't mentioned?
I think the biggest thing that needs to be said is just thank you. Thank you to everybody who helped build this. Thank you to everybody who challenged us and said we could do it bigger and better, even though, good heavens, it has been a really, really big 3 months. And thank you, so importantly, to our fans. We were so touched by the number of people that rolled over with us, who chose not to get a refund, understanding that the economic situation back when we made the decision in July, and even still, you know, we wouldn't have faulted anyone for needing a refund and needing that money back. But the vast majority stuck with us and, you know, signed up and said, cool, I'll just see you in 2021. That's awesome. And the amount of love and support we have gotten for the show, there's nothing like it in this world. And I have to thank everyone, the volunteers putting in the work, the fans enjoying the work, all of our partners, the hotel, the city of Atlanta, all the vendors and artists and guests and pros, just everybody who comes together to make this show great. Thank you.
amen.
Well, I know there are many, many other people who I'd love to have on the show because they play just as important a role as you guys do in the convention, but you know that we could probably end up doing 12 hours of just interviewing people at Dragoncon. And
Yes.
but thank you two for taking time out of your very busy schedule to come out. And you know, this almost didn't happen because you're so busy making the con happen. I agree with you. Our fans are absolutely fantastic, but our volunteers are just as good. And
Couldn't do it without them. Really
we
couldn't.
absolutely couldn't do it without them. They're the ones doing everything behind the scenes. And as I mentioned it earlier, you know, my goal as a production guy is to not be seen. If I do my job right, you don't even know I'm here. And a lot of the volunteers work like that too. If they do their job right, you don't know they're there. So a big thank you to all the Dragoncon volunteers and the staff, and especially the fans that make this just something unique and unparalleled anywhere.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you to you.
As fun as all this streaming content is, we sincerely cannot wait to see you all in person again next year. Remember to stay healthy and safe until then. Wear a mask when interacting with other people out in the real world. Want more Skeptrack? Get more than 10 years of Skeptics Track programming at our video archive, video.skeptrack.org.